What's up, boys and girls? It's me, Sulis. It's been a long time since I've done a video. The last video I did was week 3 headlines, and it's been pretty busy for me. As you guys know, I'm in university. I have tests and quizzes to finish. There were assignments this week that I had to finish. It's pretty busy this week that I was able to upload a video, but this week is reading week, so I took the time to talk about today's week 5 game, and hopefully you guys are staying safe and having fun at school, online or in school. We won't get to that. But today we'll be talking about week 5, in which we had a Thursday night thriller. We had injuries that could make this team even worse. We had a Cincy game in which it went completely sideways, and then a shootout in LA, followed by an AFC rematch in which the revenge was sweet. So let's go over what happened. The Thursday night football game brought everyone into action. It was a game between Seattle and LA. They know each other. Russell Wilson knows about this team because he's getting sacked against them. I mean, Russell Wilson is a mobile QB, but if Russell Wilson knows one thing, his offensive line has not helped them a lot. And after he's having to scramble for more yards, yeah, you do not want to make him do that. That's not what you want to do. It's good for records, but not for this game. So coming into this game, they know this offensive line is going to have to be good against this high Rams D. And it didn't disappoint for the O-line, but the game got out of hand after 2 quarters. It was a 7-3 game, but when the Seahawks were trying to maybe get the lead back, Russell Wilson threw the ball. Lockett couldn't catch it because it was a little bit too overthrown. And he hurt his middle finger on that play. He tried to play through it, so Geno Smith came in, and to be honest, it didn't help at all. Unfortunately, Geno Smith led a 98-yard drive to get them back within 2. Unfortunately, the defense was Swiss cheese for the Seahawks. Couldn't keep up. They got within 6, and they got the ball back. But unfortunately, Geno Smith threw an interception in which it should have been a PI call. But either way, Geno Smith, one thing's for sure, he's not the same Geno from 2013. He's a Geno that has learned from Russell Wilson. So we'll see how he does next week. He might miss 3 games, maybe more. But again, the Seahawks are going to need to get these wins to help Russell Wilson, because you're not going to... Russell Wilson's been the main offense for this team. But with how the defense is playing, the offense have to carry the load. So hopefully this could change. This game, I couldn't understand what's happening in Cincinnati, because it was the game between Rodgers Adams versus Chase and Burrow. Didn't disappoint. But remember I told you in the first few seconds of it, it was kicking week bad. Well, this is a kicking week bad for this team. There was missed field goals, missed PATs in this game alone. And there were a lot. It was a tie game, and Cincy had a chance, Packers had a chance first to maybe take the lead. Mason Crosby missed the field goal. Then it was McPherson's turn, who was a hero in week 1. He boinked it off. Then the Packers had a chance, and he missed it again. So we go to overtime. Joe Burrow picked up. Mason Crosby missed again. Then McPherson's turn. He hit the flag, but didn't go in. So Crosby did it for the 4th time, and he hits it. But this should have been anywhere in overtime. This should have been in regulation. But one thing's for sure, there are wins you can get in the most ugliest fashions. Whether it's Swiss chase defense, a lot of misses, Reds defensive plays, they could win in any fashion. So the Cincy Bengals go 3-2, and Packers go 4-1. We'll see how these teams go next week. Now, there were a lot of shootouts that we've seen. The Hail Murray last year, the Browns and Ravens, which was the most hyped game last year, and then the Seahawks and the Cardinals, undefeated Seahawks versus Cards, in which we remember what happened. This game might have been the best one. 89 points were combined in this game, which is the second most behind the LA and Chiefs game back when Mahomes was a rookie. And this game didn't disappoint. Let's go. What happened was Herbert played like an MVP, 398 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 to Mike Williams. Eckler continued to play like the most elusive running back and wide receiver. I mean, he could be the next Darren Sproles. But this was a good game for Baker as well. Coming off a game where he had less than 50% completion rate, he threw for more than 300 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, but again, when you look at that defense, their defense was good against teams like the Bears, what other teams can you think of? They played great, but you look at this game, the Browns just are good against teams that are not in the playoffs, but like playoff contending teams, oh no. That's pretty much how you summarize these teams. So the Browns, so far their 2 losses are against the Chiefs and the Chargers, both high-octane offenses with deep balls and stuff, but it didn't disappoint. The Chargers won. They go to 4-1, and they sit atop the AFC division, but the Browns, they fall 3-2, same as the Bengals, who also fall 3-2, and the Broncos, who fall 3-2. The only team worse than that is the Steelers, but they won. Unfortunately, Juju's out for the season with shoulder injury. And then there was this game, the hype Bills game that the Bills need was important. Bills and Chiefs rematch at the AFC Championship, in which the Chiefs put up a offensive heavy power. And if you remember that game, Allen was running for his life most of the game. Diggs was like being held by a wall, didn't have a great game. This game was a completely opposite. The Chiefs' offense so far, they've been great, but so far every defense has found out how to stop them. Now, if you remember, the Bucs defense puts 2 high safeties at the back of the backfield, so they do not give up those big plays from Hill and Kelsey. And today, they did exactly just that. Mahomes and the offense played pretty well, but they played pretty bad as well. You guys remember I told you guys about the Seahawks defense feel like Swiss cheese? The Chiefs defense is also Swiss cheese, because they gave up deep balls of 40 plus to 2 of them to Knox, a Diggs on a 61-yarder who was held to just 2 catches. They basically played like they were playing the Buccaneers. It was just it was the worst game so far. And despite trying to come back, Hill and Kelsey were just held in check. Hill only had 3 catches for 63 yards, 4 or 5 catches. Kelsey had only 6 for 52 and a touchdown, but he was held in check as well. Now some teams are trying to know how to stop this Chiefs offense. And right now, they had a chance to try to come back, but they had 2 red zone mistakes, an interception, a pick 6, and a fumble on the second kickoff, and then a fumble and then an interception. It was just a nightmare. An interception, a pick 6, a fumble, and a fumble. That is not how an offense is. And they didn't have this type of an offense since the Chargers game, because right now, the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Bills have all defeated the Chiefs. And all those 3 teams are playoff contenders. The Browns game, well, they should have lost that game if the Browns didn't make a mistake. But right now, you look at this and I'm saying, are the Chiefs going to win the division? I mean, you can't count the Chiefs out. Their offense is high octane. But if these defenses can somehow stop them, right now the Chiefs are going to think of something else, because they were not want to finish last. This would be an utter shock if the Mahomes misses the playoffs with how they play. They had missed opportunities. They had terrible mistakes, like the Ravens game, which Quiet fumbled. Then in the Chargers game, they had an interception, and then here they lost in a rematch, and they had so much penalties to deal with. The Bills had more, but this was the worst. On the drive in which they were trying to stay in the game, They had a roughing the passer call. They had a holding call. They had blocking that was called. I mean, this was just what is going on with this Chiefs offense? I mean, if these guys are saying the Seahawks offense was bad, the Chiefs offense committed 4 turnovers. Seahawks committed just 2 and 3 because Geno Smith threw an interception. They committed 4 in one game. We committed 3 in the season. So, how do you think the Chiefs are going to do? Do you think they should change it up? We'll see how that happens. So there you go. That's all for today. And as usual, today's game, Ravens versus Colts. Ravens trying to continue to stay undefeated in October, and the Colts trying to figure out a way. This is Silly signing off. I hope you stay safe and enjoy Thanksgiving.